Bulletcast for life.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the NXT Takeover Review Instant Analysis, whatever you'd like to call it. My name's Brandon. Philip is not here. Mitchell's not here. Nobody else is here. It's all me today, taking over because I watch NXT. I watch the product, and I'm here to give you some, not performance-enhancing audio, some good, decent audio. You know, I don't try to use gimmicks. I'm just trying to go straight forward and give you some good quality stuff. So this is NXT Takeover Chicago, the second one in the last 2 years. And the main event, as we all know, was Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. We will get into the match in order, all the shenanigans that ensued. I think overall, right now, the show was a really good show. I'm not going to say it was the best NXT TakeOver of all time. I'm not going to say it's even in the top tier. I think it's somewhere in like the second tier. Really good show. The best match, I think at the moment, probably is the main event. All the other matches were good to really good. Some disappointed a little bit, but I think all in all, I think it was just a solid 2 to 2.5 hour show. And WWE can learn something from this by compacting, having the best stuff on a show, throwing it out there, and a great 2-hour show always will. If you have the same 4 matches on a 2-hour show compared to on a 4 to 5 hour show, like what we've been getting with WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles, the 2.5 hour show is going to be way better because it's less filler. It's all bang, 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 and this is evident here on the NXT Takeover. So we're going to go off on the pre-show. Nothing real big happened. Some interviews with EC3, Adam Cole. But another thing, just going on the topic I was just talking about, it was only a half hour, not these hour to 2 hour long pre-shows on top of the 4 to 5 hour pay-per-views. Just give us a little bit of insight, show us the video packages, give us an interview from some of the not even some of the people on the card. They had EC3 and Adam Cole, who didn't have a match on the show. But Adam Cole was involved in the tag team match since Undisputed Era. Where are the tag team champions? He talked about that a little bit. Pat McAfee, a former NFL punter, was on the show, on the pre-show as a panelist. He's been on the last couple weeks. Philip's boy, Sam Robert, was also on the podcast, or on the show. I mean, it is what it is. So, on to the main show. We did not talk about this on the Bulletcast, but Mauro Ranallo not on the TakeOver show, so he's not going to be here for the next 2 weeks on NXT television. Not going to do the shows or the show next week. That happens, I believe, maybe after the show, something like that. I don't exactly know how it works. I've never been to an NXT TakeOver, but anyways, some of the matches that are announced for next week's show will be taped during the TakeOver event. So Mauro Ranallo not going to be there because he was doing Showtime boxing today. Did not see what the match was, didn't see how he did, but I think Vic Joseph, who is on 205 Live, don't watch 205 Live, so don't know much about him. I'm not saying he didn't do a bad job, he didn't do a great job either. He just kind of stayed in his lane. He's kind of like a Tom Phillips, not even a Michael Cole. Michael Cole has his ups and his downs. Michael Cole can add to a match, Michael Cole can take away from a match. Tom Phillips is kind of just there in the middle, and I think this is kind of like Vic Joseph. He's just kind of in the WWE system. He's got pumped out of the machine like a robot, and he's just an average announcer. He doesn't call the moves, a lot of the moves. Nigel McGuinness had to pick up the slack on that end, so that's where Mauro really shines compared to Vic Joseph. But, I mean, overall, the announce team, they're decent. Mauro Ranallo, probably the best wrestling announcer in the business. So we will start off with the tag team match, Undisputed Era, which has Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. Because of the injured Bobby Fish, he was not at ringside, but Adam Cole was at ringside, and the challengers were Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. I believe I said this either on my own show, Under the Radar, or on the Bulletcast where we talked about it a little bit. I felt like this match could have been not a show stealer, but I think people were kind of overlooking this match. It could have been a really good match, and it was a really good match. I'd probably say third best match on the show. There's the 3 matches, this one, Velveteen Dream Ricochet, and then the main event, all kind of in that very top tier. The other 2, the single title matches, don't think they were that great by any means. But this one really started the show off with the bang. The crowd was behind Undisputed Era. Not saying that they were against Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, but they loved Undisputed Era so much. They were behind them the entire way. But then after the match, they gave Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan sort of a standing ovation, kind of a clap, acknowledging that they had good work. But throughout the match, Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan were able to win over the crowd somewhat during their heat or their hot tags and their high spots that they did. So good on them for getting the crowd over. Don't know a lot about those two guys, so not going to try to sit here and contemplate their future or talk about what they're going to do, if they're going to stay a tag team, if they're going to be singles, what I think about each of them. Just not to be mean, but they're two kind of slim, white, kind of bald guys, so I kind of get them confused. They're distinct. They are kind of like Matt and Nick Jackson. At first, I couldn't tell the difference between them, but once you kind of put the faces to the names, it's like, duh, they are like two completely different people. You can tell who they are. But the match itself was really good. Not a lot of super high spots, I would say, on the match. Kyle O'Reilly, probably the high spot of the show is probably, as I forget who it was. I think it was Oney Lorcan was on the top rope going to do something, and O'Reilly pushed him off, took a bump on the side apron, and rolled to the floor. Hurts a lot, as we all know. The ring apron is the hardest part of the ring, and we will get back to that a little bit later. But a really good match, 16 minutes in all. Hot match between the two. The big finish was Lorcan and Burch made a comeback, believable near falls between the two of them. Adam Cole was at ringside, so you always knew that he was probably going to come into play eventually, and he did. The challengers hit their finisher on, I believe, was it Roderick Strong? I'm trying to see who said that. Yes, it was. No, it was O'Reilly. O'Reilly was the one getting, was delivered the uppercut. Oh, kind of like a Doomsday Device type thing where they got O'Reilly up on his shoulders and the guy jumps off the top rope, gives him an uppercut, and he goes crashing down to the floor. And he knew something was going to happen because O'Reilly was right by the ropes. And so they put the cover on him, and Adam Cole sneakily comes over, puts O'Reilly's foot on the ropes. He doesn't put the foot on the ropes. He just straight up grabs O'Reilly and pulls him out of the ring. And the ref sees him, was like, he ain't taking that stuff, and he sends him out. The crowd erupts in boos. A vulgar bull-s chant erupts. And then that leads to the Undisputed Era making the comeback and, pinning? Who was it? Jeez. See, it's very confusing because I don't exactly know the two guys distinctly. They wear black trunks. They're slim white guys. They all look the same, right? I mean, you say it about I'm not going there. I'm just gonna reel it back in. Yeah. So a really good match, hot start to the night. Onwards to maybe the best match of the show, not in my opinion, but I can see people picking this as the best match on the card. Velveteen Dream against Ricochet. I've talked about it in the past. The whole build up to this match is Velveteen Dream saying that whatever Ricochet can do, he can do better. And that was sort of the premise and the story that was told throughout this match. Velveteen Dream came out basically looking like a Hulk Hogan, came out in the old red and yellow, had a bandana, had his boa, had his gimmick shirt, goes in the ring, hitting all his poses, rips it off, flexes for the camera, gets all up in Kayla Braxton's face, invading her personal space, and rolls out to ringside and lays very sensually on the announce table and waits for Ricochet's entrance. Ricochet comes out and he has lasers all around him as he stands there looking down, and then he raises his hand up to the sky as the spotlight comes down. Really cool entrance. I love Ricochet's entrance. Velveteen Dream's entrance was very good as well. Since Ricochet was dressed up as Hulk, darn it. Velveteen Dream was dressed up as Hulk Hogan. It felt like they were doing a callback to the WrestleMania 18 match because they knew the crowd was going to be hot for this. So the two of them were up, looking face to face, and they kind of looked at each other, and they looked up to the side, looked to the other side as the crowd's going crazy. Seemed like the crowd was more on Velveteen Dream's side for the beginning of the match and maybe even the entire match, which is a little bit surprising to me. Ricochet, one of the hottest indie acts in the past, 2, 3, 4 years, definitely the last 2 years, and Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark from Tough Enough is getting a better reaction than Ricochet. If you told me or any other wrestling fan that Ricochet was making his singles debut on NXT Takeover against Patrick Clark from Tough Enough, I mean, people would laugh at you if you said Patrick Clark was more over than Ricochet was. But it seems like it's the case. Velveteen Dream, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, or last week, I believe, on the Bullet Cast, where John Cena gave his full endorsement about Velveteen Dream, saying that he's going to be the next big thing in WWE, and Vic Joseph brought that up during the match, or at the very beginning of the match, and, I mean, I kind of said it. I don't see it personally as Velveteen Dream being a really big deal. I mean, I can see him possibly being a main eventer, but it all comes down to what Vince McMahon does with them. Because he's a great wrestler. I mean, I don't know if I say he's a great wrestler. He's a really good wrestler. He's really athletic. He's, how old is he right now? Let's check. Let's hit the Google machine. Velveteen Dream. It just pops up like that. He's instantly Googleable. 22 years old. August 19th, 1995. So, he's going to be 23 at the end of the year. Most wrestlers don't make it to the WWE till their mid-30s. Like Finn Balor's in his mid-30s, and Velveteen Dream could have possibly a 20-year career in WWE. And, that is just crazy how young this guy is. He's younger than me, so I can call him a kid, I guess. I can do the whole Booker T thing. This kid is so young, has such a promising career, and I really hope with his gimmick that Vince McMahon doesn't just mess it up and kind of just downgrade him to be a main or a mid-card level act, because it can be so much more than that. I don't know if I'd be with John Cena saying he's the next big thing, he can be the next face of the company, but I mean, I don't know if I'd say homoerotic, but a very free loving, free spirit type wrestler, especially a black wrestler, at the top of the card, could be a really good PR move for WWE, and they're all about PR moves. Talk about the Undercover Boss episode with Stephanie McMahon on my show this Thursday. We'll get to that. But anyways, back to NXT. Velveteen Dream and Ricochet. This match was crazy. The main event was a street fight. This was just a regular one-on-one match, so I think that gave it a plus, just because they didn't use gimmicks, and they just kind of rested. They just used regular wrestling moves, and they told a great story. As I said earlier, the story of the match was Velveteen Dream doing whatever Ricochet can do, not exactly going, tope suicidas and, doing flips and all that stuff, but he was trying to do some of Ricochet's moves, kind of his less flashy moves. He did the one where Ricochet is laying on the mat, Velveteen Dream goes up on the ropes on his knees, does a little senton, rolls through, hits a little pose, and the crowd goes crazy. Ricochet, he did some pretty crazy stuff. He did a dive, then came back over, and then went over the top rope, and I guess you can equate it to like a sparkle splash, sort of in terms of the way he twists his body. He does a run, jumps, does a twisting backflip, and lands on Velveteen Dream. Some crazy high spots in this match. Velveteen Dream suplexes Ricochet from the outside onto the floor. Just it's simple stuff like that looks like it hurts so much. You don't have to do 630s and all this other crazy stuff. Just a simple suplex from the apron to the outside looks like it can break somebody's back, and it possibly could break someone's back. I'm not trying to take that bump. Velveteen Dream gave Ricochet a Super AA or a Avalanche Death Valley Driver, which is Velveteen Dream's finishing move. Ricochet was able to kick out of it since Velveteen Dream didn't hit it super cleanly. He didn't hold on to Ricochet, so Velveteen was kind of laying on the mat for a couple seconds, covers Ricochet, kicks out. So there's a lot of good near falls in this match. Ricochet actually hit a Death Valley driver of his own for a near fall. Believable near fall. Really good match. Overall, the match lasted 22 minutes, and my God, this was a great match. Velveteen Dream doing a Purple Rainmaker. Ricochet doing one as well. Some more imitation between the two of them. In the end, Ricochet lands a 630 splash for the victory. Great match. Definitely go out of your way to see this. Overall, go watch this show. It's a great show. Definitely watch the tag team match, this match, and the main event. The two singles title matches, a little bit to be the desired. But yeah, so a homegrown NXT talent going up against the indie darling Ricochet, and it seems like the homegrown talent is over. More over than Ricochet is. Ricochet with the victory, as I predicted. I said that Ricochet is sort of like The Miz. He can lose and talk his way out of it. He doesn't need to win every single match. Doesn't mean you want to job him out and have him lose every big match, because after a while, people aren't going to take him seriously, especially with Aleister Black being the champion at this point. Maybe setting up heels down the line. Velveteen Dream could be a great opponent for him. They had the great match a few months ago, the whole Say My Name feud. That was the NXT feud of the year. I don't really know what is next for Ricochet. You can always go back to this match on NXT TV. EC3 doesn't have an opponent right now. I don't see EC3 going up to the NXT Championship match at the moment. We did see a certain somebody in the crowd at NXT on the TakeOver show today. Maybe Keith Lee might be in the works to come over to NXT and WWE. Don't see Keith Lee being a heel right at the moment. He's going to definitely start off as a babyface. Ricochet, I don't have the NXT roster in front of me at the moment, so I can't exactly pinpoint heels that he can go up against. He did have the feud with Lars Sullivan briefly, which is kind of how this whole Velveteen Dream Ricochet feud started with. So maybe he can always go back to that. But then do you really want... I don't see Ricochet losing to Lars. He can lose to Lars, but I really think you need to keep Ricochet strong at the moment, because I think he can possibly be your top babyface if and when Aleister Black gets called up. If you don't want to go with Adam Cole. Actually, Adam Cole against Ricochet for the North American Championship is... I think that's probably a really good fit right there. Adam Cole did not have a match on NXT TakeOver today. He's going to have to defend his championship against Walter at an Evolve show, as we talked about on the Bulletcast, and he's going to have to, if he walks away with that, which I believe, I don't know exactly the timeline, but Adam Cole, the North American Championship, will be defended during the UK Championship special that happens next weekend. So if Adam Cole's able to walk away from all those defenses, maybe he can face Ricochet, and I think that could be a great match. Ricochet versus Adam Cole for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Watch out, that match will be phenomenal. And onwards to the NXT Women's Championship match, Shayna Bazler against Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross being the crazy, undersized babyface in this situation. Nikki Cross came out to a huge pop, and Shayna Bazler came out, got the boos. Not really a heated reaction for Shayna Bazler, but I think she does good work in the ring. And I thought this was a decent match. Only 10 minutes. So, they didn't put in a lot of work here, not a lot of high-flying spots. Kind of a cool-down match, I gotta say, after the Ricochet Velveteen match. But they told a really good story. Nikki Cross started off the match with her kooky antics, kind of making funny faces and telling Shayna to bring it. She got hit by Shayna at the very beginning, and then she was sitting down on the mat, doing weird hand gestures and weird faces, just looking at Shayna, and Shayna was all freaked out, which kind of plays into the mind games of what's been happening the past couple weeks on NXT television, and that's kind of the whole storyline, and that was one of the reasons why I thought Nikki Cross might have been able to pick up the victory here, because I thought she was going to be able to get into Shayna's head, maybe catch her slipping for a moment, Nikki can hit her finisher, and pin her for the 1-2-3, or maybe even submit her, but probably pin her. And That was not the case. Nikki Cross did her antics for a little bit, but then afterwards Shayna was just too much, and she finally got the choke on her on Nikki Cross, and didn't tap her out. She passed out. So by submission or TKO, whatever you want to call it, Shayna Bazler is the winner in a 10-minute match. I mean, nothing much to say here. I like the story that was told. Good match. Good expressions from Nikki. Don't know if you can go back to this match right away. Kind of the way the match happened, a short match. Nikki got in some offense, but Shayna in the end looked pretty dominant. Would love to see her go up with Sanity on the main roster. Don't know what the hell happened to them. They just disappeared. And I think Nikki Cross could be a good addition to the WWE roster, especially on SmackDown, which obviously that's where Sanity's supposed to go, on SmackDown, unless they just want to ignore all rules and just put them over to Raw because they're Sanity and they're chaotic and they're all about chaos. But Nikki Cross can be a heel or a babyface on that roster. I think she can be a really good heel on the SmackDown roster because right now they lack really good heels on that side. I mean, the main heel right now at the moment on SmackDown was Carmella, and we'll see what happens at Money in the Bank, but I just don't see Carmella, Lana, the Iconics, Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville really carrying that division as being credible challengers against a Charlotte, Becky Lynch, a Naomi. And Nikki Cross can be. She's undersized, which especially with Charlotte, who's a tall babyface, I think Charlotte needs to turn heel eventually. I think she's more suited as a heel. But I mean, hopefully we're going to see what happens with Nikki. But on to the NXT title match. Probably, I would say, the worst match on the show. Not saying it was a terrible match by any means, but it was. I didn't have high expectations. I don't think anybody really had high expectations for this match, and it definitely did not surpass my expectations of it. Kind of what I thought was going to happen. Aleister comes out firing a little bit, then Lars blocks the first Black Mass attempt, and then they're off to the races from there. Lars puts the heat on Black for a while, and Black makes his comeback, and he goes for a Black Mass. Supposedly he hit it, but I don't exactly know how far away Black's foot was away from Sullivan's head, but it did not look good. It looked a good 6 inches to a foot away, and Sullivan sold it. The crowd picked up on that, and they chanted "You effed up, Botchamania," the whole 9 yards. It was not a good look from Lars. I don't exactly know what they teach him down in NXT. If a move is that bad, do you no-sell it? Do you go and try to repeat the spot again? Because there's been moments on WWE where, especially the NXT guys, like I think it was the Baron Corbin Ty Dillinger match on SmackDown a few months ago, that they blew a spot and they just blatantly went back to do the same spot. So, I mean, not a good look for Lars or Aleister. Don't know if it might have been the height difference. Don't know if Black can get his leg up that high to kick Sullivan, because then he did another Black Mass and he hit him, but he hit him like in the chest. So not a good look for that. And then Lars kind of went down to a knee after they went back and forth for a little bit. Lars had a little bit of blood, and then Black kicked him again. This was a clean one. This one actually looked good. It landed flush, pinned him, and Black is retains the NXT Championship. A 14-minute match. Nothing special here. I think the botches definitely took away from the match, especially since it's the closing segment and the finisher that Aleister Black has. He hit it. It's sort of a tough move to hit. It's kind of a no-look, spinning heel kick that he has to hit flush on the face. You got to protect the opponent, so sometimes it might not look good, and when he hits it flush, it looks phenomenal. But just not a good. I don't know if it's a chemistry, if it's just they had a bad match, but not a good. I'm not gonna say it was a terrible match, and it was the drizzling poops. I don't know if I'm gonna swear. No, I'm gonna keep it clean on this one. I'm not gonna swear, even though sometimes on the instant analysis I can let it rip sometimes, but not this one. I'll keep it classy, San Diego. All right. Kind of talked about it a little bit. Don't see them going back to this match, especially with TakeOver Brooklyn looming. That's usually the biggest show of the year for NXT. I mean, do you go straight Aleister Black versus EC3? Aleister has not he hasn't main evented the last 2 takeovers, so I think NXT Takeover Brooklyn, I think you definitely want to have that match be the main event. Have a really good match. The match that Black won the championship for, him versus Almas, was fantastic, but the show was stolen by the Gargano Ciampa match. Was it that? See, I don't even remember anymore. This so many damn NXT takeovers. NXT Takeover, not Chicago. We want to go to New Orleans. But anyways, the match he had with Andrade and Almas has definitely been my favorite match of his short career title reign. You might say. Some people might call it a title reign. Some people might not. But yeah, so he's only had the title for the couple months now. I mean, EC3, yes, that can be a good match. I'm not so high on EC3 as some people are. He's a really good heel. I don't really see him in ring being that great. Adam Cole has the North American Championship. I mean, it's just, I don't exactly know where they're going at this point, and I like it. I don't like promotions being super predictable, like, having the top babyface who nobody likes having a challenge for the championship, and we all know he's going to win for the championship, and then, they swerve us by delaying the inevitable when he's going to win 6 months down the line instead of just getting it over with right now. I don't know why anybody would do that, but, Anyways, onwards to the main event. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa in a Chicago street fight. Gargano made his ring entrance. He was walking in the backstage area, looking like Captain America. Had kind of a leather, I don't know exactly what we would call it. I don't know. I'm just going to call it leather. He looked like Captain America. Looked like some brown leather pants. Had a shirt, looked a little red, white, and bluish. And then he's walking backstage, and we knew something was going to happen because they never show this. They did sometimes back in the Full Sail days. They would kind of have the champions get ready backstage, kind of the Attitude Era type thing. And then the music would hit, and then they go through the curtain, and then we see them on the stage. But Candice LeRae pops out and hands Johnny Gargano the broken crutch that he was going to hit Tommaso Ciampa with last time in New Orleans, but he didn't because he has a heart. Johnny Gargano has a heart. And she told him to go kick his ass, and he did. Made his ring entrance. Huge pop for old Johnny. Had the Johnny Wrestling signs everywhere throughout the crowd. And then Tommaso Ciampa makes his ring entrance. No music. Don't know exactly how long that's going to last. Is he going to always have no ring music? I mean, it's different. Wrestlers didn't always have ring music. The crowd was their ring music. But they started off hot. Chicago street fight, so no rules. Really leaned heavy on the gimmicks here. There was chairs. There was steel steps. There was trash can lids, handcuffs. The big spot, Tommaso Ciampa takes a bolt cutter. I think they're bolt cutters, and he chops up the ropes that tie up the ring mat, pulls the ring mat, exposes the boards in the corner, and the match was laid out so beautiful. Tommaso Ciampa taking out all these gimmicks, takes out some handcuffs, he pulls apart the ring, he takes out all these different stuff, he takes out the stairs, kind of takes them out of the corner and puts them up against the up against the ring apron, the side of the ring. And they didn't go to the spots right away, but then, eventually they went to a spot. Ciampa puts a chair around Gargano's neck, throws him into the ringside steps, kind of like what Owens did to Jericho. I'm going to save the very end spot for last, but very good moves back and forth. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa have great chemistry. They've had, dozens, if not hundreds of matches together. I would not say this was their best match. I wouldn't say this was better than their match in New Orleans, but it was just a different match. Both of them technically were the same match, non-sanctioned, so that means no rules. Chicago street fight, no rules. But I just felt like the ending and like the emotion being the first time we've seen this happen since the turn. I'm not gonna say that I was ready for this feud to be. I mean, I was ready for the feud to be over, but I'm not saying I was tired of the feud yet. But I think after this match, it did make me want to see another match just because of that bastard Tommaso Ciampa and what he did. So during the match, they brawled outside at ringside and they go out into the crowd. And strangely enough, there was a fan with a big old Johnny Wrestling sign, and Tommaso Ciampa tried to tear it up, but he was unable to tear it up. And then Gargano takes him and whacks him with this, piece of paper, and Ciampa sells it huge. And then Gargano reveals that there was actually a stop sign in between the two sheets of paper. So I don't know how that fan got that stop sign in there. I mean, the Allstate Arena security really needs to step their game up because you can't feel there's a stop sign in between two sheets of paper, or it was a plant. I'm gonna vote for the latter, but you never know. Wrestling fans are crazy like that. But they end up working their way back to ringside. The crowd was just so hot for Johnny Gargano, booing the hell at Tommaso Ciampa. Like, this crowd, as I said, they liked Undisputed Era. They liked Velveteen Dream. They kind of like the heels. It's a Chicago crowd, so thought it was going to be controversial and say bad words in their chants and stuff like that. No CM Punk chants to my knowledge. There was something going on in the crowd. I don't exactly know which match it was. Might have been Nikki Cross and Shayna Bazler, where there was something going on in the crowd and the crowd was chanting something. It was a little hard to distinguish what was happening, but maybe somebody got kicked out. Maybe a section was standing and people were telling them to sit down, something like that. But let's talk about this phenomenal main event. Just going back and forth, beating the holy hell out of each other. Gargano whips Ciampa with his belt. Trash can lid shot. Like, Ciampa hits Gargano flush in the head, it looked like, with the trash can lid. I don't know exactly how safe that is. I know those lids are a little gimmicks. They're a little more flimsy than a steel chair would be, or even a real trash can lid that you might find at Home Depot. But yeah, so they fight, and then Ciampa finally gets the better of Gargano, takes him out, walks him up the ramp, kind of has Gargano's arm over his shoulder, kind of really similar to what happened in Chicago after their tag team match after they lost. Just great visuals, great storytelling. Really, I don't know I think Nigel did bring it up a little bit, that it was very similar to the Chicago show, but I mean, Vic Joseph, you're the storyteller, you're the play-by-play announcer. You're supposed to tell us oh man, this is where it all started, walking up the ramp, and now Ciampa's doing the same thing to Gargano, 1 year later. But maybe a little bit of an opportunity missed for Vic Joseph, but Nigel picked up on it, and he goes, talks some trash to him, saying, I don't exactly remember what all he said, but this is all your fault, you did all this to yourself, blah 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 blah. Throws Gargano into the LED board. It doesn't even look like it hurts that much, especially nowadays, where it literally just looks like wrestling mats with not even light bulbs. Just I'm not technologically savvy or anything like that, so I don't exactly know what it is, but it looks like he just kind of threw him into a bunch of wrestling mats. Doesn't make a really good sound, but sold the hell out of it, and then takes him to the side stage, and there was conveniently two tables with some TV carts, TV boxes. I don't exactly know what you call them. But anyways, up on a high perch, and Gargano was able to get out of Ciampa's grips and hits him with a what the hell is that move called? Does it even really matter what the move's called? But let's see. Can I find what the move? It doesn't matter. He grabbed him. Before that happened, Ciampa goes up. Before he's going to chuck Gargano into the tables, he takes Johnny Gargano's rubber wedding ring off. A lot of athletes wear it. I've seen Randy Orton wear it. Takes it off, takes his wedding ring off, spits on it, chucks it across the arena like a... Sorry, I told you I haven't cussed yet, but I'm going to say a word here, so put the earmuffs on. Ciampa was being a true asshole then. Just, disrespecting the sacred, I don't know, the sacred bond between wife and husband and what the wedding ring represents. And he chucks the wedding ring across the ring or across the arena, and then Gargano's able to get out, and he picks up Ciampa, dove off the stage, through the 2 tables down below, and Ciampa's selling the holy hell out of it. It looked really nasty. It was a great bump by both of them. It looked like there was like a rug or some sort of carpet taped underneath the table, so the bump itself wasn't as bad as it could have been, but definitely Gargano's butt landed flush on the ground, and they kind of looked like they landed in between the 2 tables, even though the tables did break. So definitely Gargano or Ciampa took the worst out of the 2 there. Gargano selling his back, selling a little bit, but Ciampa just selling the holy hell out of it. People from the back come to rush him back or to help him. He's yelling, I need help. And they put him up on a stretcher, and Gargano sitting there on the boxes, kind of really similar to what Ciampa did to him in Chicago last year, just looking at him with a blank stare on his face, like no feelings whatsoever. And then he's like looking at it, he's like looks at his hand, and he realizes that Ciampa took the ring off, and then he just goes into a fury, takes Ciampa, who's on the stretcher, boarded up, strapped up, takes him, wheels him down to the ring, and he beats him up. He puts him in the Gargano escape right away. Ciampa's tapping out, beating the hell out of him. People are trying to take him, or the backstage people are trying to get him out of there. Shout out Steve Corino. Steve Corino made an appearance. Johnny Gargano hit him in the face. Gargano took those handcuffs that Ciampa introduced in the match earlier. Ciampa was going to handcuff Johnny, but Johnny was able to get out early in the match. But Johnny grabs the handcuffs, puts them on Ciampa, beats the hell out of him, hits him with like frickin' 5 or 6 super kicks in a row, puts him in another Gargano escape. Once again, Ciampa just taps out right away, and then finally, everyone was able to get Johnny off of Ciampa. But then Johnny was able to scurry away, and then like the bastard Ciampa is, he was able to hit a DDT on the exposed wooden boards in the corner, and he pins Johnny Gargano for the 1-2-3, even though Ciampa tapped out twice to the Gargano escape. The reason Johnny did not win the match was because Johnny was one of the many people that he punched on the ringside, on the stage, after he tried to get Ciampa down to ringside with the strapped onto the stretcher. Little heelish by Johnny Gargano, just about the fire he showed, just beating up poor old Tommaso Ciampa. Why am I saying poor old? Who gives a damn? Gargano just was giving it to Ciampa, and Ciampa deserved every last bit of that ass whooping. And little heelish was getting a little uncomfortable at times how many super kicks Johnny was giving Ciampa in a row. Put him in the handcuffs, put him in the Gargano escape a bunch of times, was just beating him up. It was just like, okay, Johnny, like, we get it. Just end it, just get it over with. And I thought like they were going to do something with him, do a heel turn or something, but the crowd was behind it, I was behind it. It was getting a little uncomfortable at times, but then that damn bastard walked away with the W, Ciampa with the DDT, and waves Johnny Wrestling goodbye as he goes off the stage. Fade to black, and that was the NXT Takeover Chicago 2. As I said, great show, not the best NXT Takeover we've seen, but still the main event was great. Not as good as the first one, but it was a different one. It told a great story. I was like, I don't know what they're going to do with this. I think they're going to have the third match at Brooklyn. Looking back on it, that match probably is going to be the main event at Brooklyn. What am I talking about? If they do the trilogy, I don't know what gimmick match they do. Do they keep it old school? Do they do a cage, or do they do Hell in a Cell? They never done a Hell in a Cell match before for NXT. They've done cage matches before. Back in the day for WCW, WWF, the cage was the ultimate. That's when feuds ended because you're trapped inside the cage. There's no weapons. It's just you and the other guy, the cage. And I hope if they do a cage, they don't do the dumb rule where you have to escape. If you escape the cage, you win the match. I mean, I don't know where they go from here. Obviously, Ciampa gets the victory. I don't think you want Gargano just losing like that. I think Gargano has to win and go over in the end. So I don't see them having this on a NXT TV, having a blow-off match. Gargano, I have big hopes for him. I mean, Gargano up against a heel Roman Reigns can main event a WrestleMania and draw huge money down the line. Gargano can be the next Daniel Bryan, especially if Daniel Bryan leaves and doesn't re-sign. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Tell me what you guys thought about NXT TakeOver at BulletCast on Twitter. Add us, talk to us. What did you think about this? Do you think this show will be better than Money in the Bank? I mean, I said it on Under the Radar. NXT, those takeovers always deliver, and Money in the Bank is gonna have to pull something out. They're gonna have something really special if they want to beat this NXT card. Solid 2.5 hour show, and Money in the Bank starting at 7 Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. They're gonna go at least 4 hours now. I mean, Jesus. 2 Money in the Bank matches, last man standing match. I mean, I think those are really the only 3 matches that could maybe contend with the Gargano Ciampa match. Maybe. I don't see any of them. I mean, I think the last man standing match, if they do something special with that, if they go balls to the wall. We said this, I don't know how many times we've said this, if AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, get their stuff together and they say, like, we want to put on an all-time classic, they can. I don't think they will. So, NXT TakeOver, best show of the weekend, not best show of the month. Dominion was still a better show. If I were to compare, it's really hard to say. I think the Gargano Ciampa match probably it's not as good as Okada Omega, but it's probably, if you put that match on Dominion in a bubble, it's probably the second best match of the show. I think it is better than Jericho Naito, is better than the tag team match and the Ospreay Takahashi match. But I did like that tag team match and the Takahashi Ospreay match a lot. But that's saying a lot, because I mean, I really enjoyed the match. I know I'm kind of poo-pooing on the show as a whole, but I think the women's title match and the men's title match brought it down a tad bit. If I were to give it a rating, I say a weak A- to a strong B+. Really good show. So thank you guys for listening. Follow us on the socials at BulletCast on Twitter, at BulletCast. This is why I shouldn't plug the socials on the shows, because I don't even know what they are. But you can figure it out. BulletCast, places, go to somewhere, we'll find it. Just type in like BulletCast Wrestling on Google and you'll find us. So my name's Brandon. I unfortunately will not be at the Money in the Bank instant analysis with Philip. I do not know what Philip's doing. If he's going to do the solo show all by his lonesome, because that's usually what a solo show is you do it all by yourself. I don't know if you knew that. Or if he's going to have King of the Hill, Mitchell might show up, but maybe I'll be the new BulletCast champion. Hopefully that happens. We had a lot of different opinions on Money in the Bank. But I will be with my loving father on Father's Day, so that's why I will not be able to do the instant analysis. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. All the fathers. Hell, all the mothers. Happy to all the parents out there. So you got father out there. Go say hi to him. Spend some time with them. Drink a beer with them. Drink a soda with them if you're too young for that. Maybe go see a baseball game or spend some quality time with them. So, thank you guys very much. It's past midnight. It's already Sunday for me. So, literally, goodbye and good night. Bye.